Stories have always been a part of human history. From ancient myths whispered in the dark to cautionary tales told around a fire, they shape the way we see the world. But some stories, they refuse to fade. They sink into our collective consciousness, passed down generation after generation, morphing into something more, something darker. Urban legends are more than just entertainment. They exist in the space between reality and fiction, lingering in the shadows of our fears. They start as whispers, an unsettling warning from a friend, a chilling news report, a strange encounter that defies explanation, and then they spread, they take on lives of their own. The vanishing hitchhiker, the babysitter and the man upstairs, the woman in the mirror. No matter where you go in the world, these stories exist. Different names, different details, but the same eerie themes. Fear of the unknown, fear of being watched, fear of what lurks just out of sight. We tell these tales for a reason. They warn us of dangers we cannot see. They remind us to lock our doors at night. They make us question every shadow, every creak in the floorboards, every fleeting glimpse of movement just beyond our vision. But what if, just what if, some of these terrifying stories weren't just fiction? What if they were echoes of something real? Something that happened once, or something that could still happen? Because the truth is, some of these legends have roots in real events, tragedies, unexplained mysteries, crimes that remain unsolved to this day. And the deeper you dig, the more unsettling the connections become. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the most chilling urban legends and their disturbing real-life counterparts. Because sometimes the scariest stories aren't just stories at all. Title: The Dark Side of Urban Legends, Fact or Fiction. Every legend begins with a whisper, a tale told in hushed voices, passed down from one generation to the next, a name spoken in the dead of night, always followed by a warning: don't go there, don't say that name, don't look too closely. But where do these stories come from? Are they nothing more than elaborate fiction, designed to thrill and terrify? Or could they be echoes of something real? Faded memories of true events, twisted and reshaped until the line between fact and folklore disappears entirely. Some urban legends can be traced back to real crimes, real tragedies, real people. The infamous Hookman, a cautionary tale of teenage recklessness, mirrors stories of escaped convicts and unsolved roadside attacks from decades past. The vanishing hitchhiker has variations in cultures all over the world, each version eerily similar to real disappearances reported throughout history. But the truth is, history isn't always clear. Details blur, stories evolve. A single event can spiral into something larger than itself, feeding the imagination of those who tell it. And with each retelling, the legend grows, twisting, changing, becoming more than it ever was. But what happens when an urban legend refuses to stay just a story? When enough people believe in it, does it become real? Or has it always been real, waiting to be acknowledged? The Slender Man, the black-eyed children, the shadow people, creatures of folklore, or something far more sinister. Each legend began somewhere, whispered between friends, spreading like wildfire through late-night horror forums, news reports and campfire stories, and yet there are those who claim to have seen them, felt them, been followed by them. Could there be more to these legends than mere fiction? Or is there a hidden pattern, a thread connecting these stories to something ancient, something buried deep within the collective fears of humanity? Some say these stories are nothing more than mass hysteria, a trick of the mind, a fabrication of the internet age. But if that were true, why do the same figures, the same whispers, appear in cultures separated by oceans and centuries? Why do their descriptions match across time, across continents? Coincidence? Or proof that something has been watching us for far longer than we'd like to admit? Some stories refuse to die. Passed down through generations, whispered in the dark, they take on a life of their own. But where did they begin? Are they mere fabrications, or do they stem from something real, an event, a person, a moment so chilling it embedded itself in our collective fears? Let's take a closer look at some of the most infamous urban legends, unraveling their origins, the truths buried beneath them, and how they've evolved through time, shaping our fears in ways we may not even realize. It's a story as old as the road itself. A driver traveling alone at night picks up a hitchhiker, usually a young woman, lost and vulnerable. She speaks softly, barely above a whisper, giving only the vaguest directions. But by the time they reach their destination, she's gone, vanished. No sign she was ever there. Variations of this tale exist worldwide. Some say the girl warns the driver of an impending accident, then disappears, leaving only a cold spot in the seat. Others claim she was the victim of a tragic accident years before, forever reliving her final moments. But is there truth to the legend? Many believe these stories are rooted in real tragedies, car accidents, unsolved disappearances, restless spirits tied to the roads where they met their end. And yet, even in the digital age, new reports emerge, new sightings, new warnings. Could it be that some legends never fade because their subjects never truly left? A childhood dare. A game played at sleepovers. You stand before a mirror in the dark, whispering her name 3 times, and then she appears. But who is she, and why does her name invoke such fear? Some trace the legend to Queen Mary I, infamous for her brutal reign and the rivers of blood spilled under her rule. Others connect it to accused witches whose names were spoken in whispers before they met their fates at the hands of executioners. And yet many believe Bloody Mary is something else entirely. An entity drawn from the deepest corners of our subconscious, a reflection of our own fears staring back at us. And still, the legend persists. Generations later, children still stand before the mirror, daring fate, testing the unknown. But what if, just once, she answered? Unlike most urban legends, we know exactly where Slender Man came from. He was born in 2009, created in an online contest for paranormal images. A faceless figure in a black suit lurking in the background of grainy photos. But something strange happened. The story took on a life of its own. People began claiming they had seen him before, that he was real, that he had always been there, hidden in the shadows of history. And then, in 2014, the legend turned deadly. A chilling crime brought the legend into the real world. 2 young girls, convinced Slender Man was real, attempted to sacrifice their friend to him. It was a tragic testament to the power of belief, the way an urban legend, even one we know to be fiction, can blur the lines between reality and nightmare. Some say Slender Man was never real, just a story, just pixels on a screen. But if that's true, Why do people still see him? Why do the reports continue? And why, when you walk through the woods alone, does it feel like something is watching you? Urban legends aren't just stories. They're reflections of our fears, changing, adapting, evolving with each new generation. They warn us, they haunt us, and sometimes they follow us. So, the next time you hear a story, ask yourself, is it just a legend, or is there something waiting in the dark, eager to prove otherwise? Some stories never die, some stories are waiting for you. There are stories that entertain us, stories we tell around campfires, laughing at the absurdity. And then there are the ones that crawl under our skin, the ones that leave us questioning, what if? The ones with roots that sink deeper than fiction into something disturbingly real. Among all the legends whispered in the dark, one stands out, a tale so unsettling, so inexplicably connected to real events, that even skeptics struggle to dismiss it. This is the legend of the Smiling Man. It began as a chilling personal account posted online, a story about a late-night encounter with something wrong, something inhuman. The witness, walking alone through the empty city streets, spotted a man in the distance. His gait was unnatural, his steps too exaggerated, like a puppet pulled by invisible strings. And then there was the smile. At first the man didn't acknowledge the witness. He simply moved, slowly at first, then with eerie precision, almost dancing in the moonlight. Then suddenly he stopped and turned and looked right at him. That grotesque, unnatural grin locked in place, and then he charged. The original storyteller barely escaped, but his account spread. Others began sharing similar encounters. People from different states, different countries, each claiming to have seen the same figure, a tall, thin man in outdated clothing, his head tilted, his smile impossibly wide. And the closer you looked, the more wrong it felt. What makes the Smiling Man so disturbing isn't just his presence in modern urban legends. It's that he has been seen before, decades before, in places where he shouldn't be. In 1966, a man named Woodrow Derenberger claimed to have encountered a being known as Indrid Cold, a humanoid figure with an eerie, frozen smile. Cold allegedly communicated telepathically, appearing to multiple witnesses during a wave of strange events in the region. But the reports didn't stop there. From UFO encounters to sleep paralysis, the Smiling Man, or versions of him, have been reported across the world, always appearing in the same way, at night when you least expect him, and always with that smile. Even in recent years, reports of this unsettling entity continue to surface. Is it a case of mass hysteria, a psychological trick of the mind, or is there something lurking in the dark, watching us, waiting, grinning? Legends like the Smiling Man don't just exist in stories. They exist in the minds of those who swear they've seen him. They exist in the places where shadows stretch just a little too long. And they exist in that unsettling feeling when you think you're being watched, but no one is there. At least, not yet. He's still watching. We have journeyed through the eerie corridors of urban legends, peeling back the layers of mystery that surround them. We have seen how whispers of fear transform into chilling tales. We have uncovered the unsettling truth, that behind many of these stories, reality lurks just beneath the surface. From the faceless terror of Slender Man to the disturbing accounts of the Smiling Man, these legends are more than just campfire tales. They are reflections of something deeper, our collective fears, our anxieties, our need to make sense of the unknown. Slender Man, fear of the internet's power over the human mind. The Smiling Man, fear of the unknown of being watched. The hook-hand killer, fear of danger lurking in the places we feel safest. The vanishing hitchhiker, fear of things we can't explain, of ghosts lingering among the living. Bloody Mary, fear of the supernatural and our own reflection staring back at us. But where do these stories come from? Are they mere entertainment? Or are they warnings? If history has taught us anything, it's that myths and legends don't simply appear from nowhere. They are born from real fears, real experiences, and sometimes real events. Time and time again, history proves that some legends have more truth than we are willing to admit. Are they exaggerated? Absolutely. Are they distorted? Without a doubt. But at their core, do they hold a seed of reality? That is the question we are left with. Some stories refuse to stay buried. So the next time you hear an urban legend, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, where did this story really come from? And more importantly, what if it isn't just a story after all? Are you sure you're alone? Some stories never die. Urban legends have a way of staying with us long after the story ends. Now it's your turn to step into the shadows and share your thoughts. Tell us in the comments, what's your favourite urban legend? Have you ever had an experience that made you question what's real and what's not? Which mysterious tale should we explore next? Your stories could become the inspiration for our next deep dive into the unknown. Like what you saw, don't let the mystery end here. Hit that like button if you love diving into the eerie and unexplained. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Watch this next. Click now if you dare.